The amazing thing is I work with a lot of Christian guys in a rehab center, and I raise that question, and I say, so what's a nice born-again boy like you doing who's buttoned a frequent center for drugs and alcohol? I mean, it's not exactly part of the Sunday school curriculum, is it? It's an embarrassing question. And folk, I wish that a born-again experience, which forgives me of sin, unites me with Christ, seals me with the Holy Spirit, I wish that were the solution to alcoholism. If it was, I'd quit my day job, buy a tent, pitch revivals around the world, and preach deliverance from alcoholism. It's a wonderful, blessed, real experience. But I say to the guys, if you're an active alcoholic, you are not experiencing the power of Christ coming between you and your disease. As much as you are indwelt by the Holy Spirit, sealed by the Holy Spirit, there is an area of your life that is not experiencing the power of God. And what these people found were a group of simple 12 spiritual concepts, which not intellectualized, but which, if practiced as a way of life, seem to create the space for the grace of God. And that's what I have today, folks. I have experienced the grace of God in a breadth and a depth and a dimension that I never known before. And today I'm not only sober physically, but spiritually, emotionally, whole and joyful again. Those are some of the key components. You see it as a disease of the body, that I have an abnormal reaction when the alcoholic puts it in their body reacts with a craving for more. And it's the disease of the mind, that when I stop drinking and using, my mind is obsessed with the relief I get. I remember what it did for me, not what it did to me, and believing that since other people can do it, I can do it. It's all good. Now we'll come to the third point. We'll go to the circles diagram. We'll try to put these two things together, and then we'll wrap it up. It starts out in the top middle circle there, where the normal state of an alcoholic, according to Dr. Silkworth, is one of restless, irritable discontent. It's this writhing, seething, discomfort, disease. I do this lecture on a regular basis, and I had a large family group. And I asked the family group, what does that feel like? Well, you need to know the room was packed that day, and one of the people sitting in the front row was Granny. Granny was at least 140 years old, blue hair, walking cane, granny glasses. She came in, sat down, and never budged, never blinked. I thought she was catatonic. I thought Granny had died and forgot to fall out the chair. She was almost asleep the whole lecture for over an hour until I asked this question, and Granny's hand shot up like a pistol. Pastor Norm, that feels like shit. Well, I'm not going to argue with Granny, you know, but it's a state of being that even Granny said was extremely uncomfortable. Now, what happens is that at that point, the mind turns to some solution. Please give me some solution. And for the alcoholic, when we put that information, I'm feeling terrible, I want to feel normal. I just want to feel normal. I put this information into my brain, and my brain does these Google searches. First sight, my brain takes me to the Johnny Walker, Ernest Julia, one of those guys. Any one of them will work for me. Some go to the coke side, some go to the crack pipe, some go to this, some go to that, some go to pills or whatever. But it says, this will do it for you, Norm. And so what happens is I put it into my body, and I get this feeling. Oh yeah, feels good. Millions and millions and millions of men and women, boys and girls do it every day. Many of them without getting in any trouble at all. But for that percentage of us who have this predisposition, I believe, genetic, to respond to drugs and alcohol differently than the majority of the world, what happens to us is once that goes into my body, this abnormal reaction takes place, which sets up a craving for more. And what happens then? I put the more in my body, and what happens after that? I go on a spree. And I can tell you some horrific stories of the sprees that I've gone on. Started out just innocently wanting just a simple little drink, not getting home till 4 o'clock the next morning after having wrecked the car twice. Just a simple little drink on an airplane, and finding myself halfway between New York and Frankfurt trying to use the bulkhead as a public restroom. You've got no idea. You think you're going to take a little drink, and the drink leads to a drink. What does the Chinese proverb say? The man takes a drink takes a drink, and the drink takes a man. And that's what happens to us. We go on the spree, and it's an out-of-control spree. And when we wake up, if we didn't black out, if we can recall what happened, we say, oh my goodness, dear Lord, please tell me it ain't so. We're embarrassed, we're ashamed, we're humiliated. And once more, we're on our face before God. I promise you, God, I will never do that again. We go to our wives, we go to our bosses, we go to our kids. I'm so sorry, forgive me, I'll never do that again. You guys have seen it probably. Or you know wives or families who have seen these pledges from the alcoholic. And today when I work with families, I say, do you believe us? They say, absolutely not. Why? Seen it so many times before. But personally, from my own experience and from working with hundreds of alcoholic addicts, you could hook us up to a lie detector test every time we make you the promise we made it. I'd have passed it with flying colors. What's the problem? My mouth is making contracts that my mind and body are incapable of filling. And I mean well. And I try hard. But before you know it, I'm right to the back of the circle again. I'm feeling miserable. What does my mind suggest? Pick up a drink. Pick up a drink. Now, I'm not the person, this is where you guys are different. You wouldn't do that again. There's an old guy in this program, Charlie, who was raised in Arkansas, and he was taking a bath as a little kid, 7 or 8 years old, in a number 2 galvanized tub in front of the wood stove. Charlie got through with his bath, 7 or 8 years old, stood up, bent over to pick up the towel to dry himself, and when he bent over, stuck his butt right on that wood stove. Burned a blister the size of his hand. Charlie says nothing has ever hurt him so much in all his life. Charlie's an elderly gentleman today, also a recovered alcoholic. When he talks about it, he says, you know, folk, I'm an old guy and I've seen a lot of wood stoves. Never ever looked at a wood stove that I had this overwhelming desire to loosen my pants, drop my drawers, and stick my ass back. This is alcohol has burned me just as badly. I'll do it again and again and again. And so that's the cycle. We put it in there, and round, 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 round we go. And the amazing thing is, while the person is doing this, they can't see it. They're caught in denial. They rationalize for the good reason, but not the real reason. They'll deny it. They'll project blame and so on and so on. And as long as that goes on, there is no recovery. The only recovery is some sort of intervention. Life is going to intervene. It'll be a blue light special. It'll be an overdose. It'll be an accident. It'll be a prison sentence. Or the family can choose to do a loving intervention. Try to break that bubble of denial and allow the person to begin the process of recovery where they will be overcome by the grace of a loving God. Thank you so much for paying attention.